forth, do you advise a new Muslim, only a Muslim for less than a week, to get married right away? What about sisters, brothers who approach such sisters as soon as they convert? Well, Islam encourages early marriage, so we know this is a general principle. However, it is important for a woman who comes into Islam to learn what Islam is, to know what Islam is, so she can make an intelligent choice of a husband. Yes, the community should help her, brothers and sisters around her should help her to find a husband, but she should know herself what she's looking for in a husband, because that's why coming into Islam, her criterion is going to be the criterion of pre-Islamic times, which is more a criterion of wealth, status, family, these kind of things. Whereas Prophet ﷺ had said, though people are married for these reasons, the most important reason to be married for is Islam, for one's faith, one's belief. So this needs to be stressed to her. She needs to know what are the rights of the husband, the rights of the wife, this type of thing. So when she's, has some body of knowledge, some clear understanding, then we can look to see about getting her married. And of course, getting married is something highly recommended. But to just have her come into Islam, and as soon as she's coming to Islam, marry her off to somebody, this is, in a lot of cases, it ends up in problems, where the woman marries somebody she really didn't want to marry, somebody she really who's about things that she really is not about. She really didn't understand that piety was the priority, so she married somebody who was impious, these kind of things. So it's very, very important for her to get a chance to establish her Islam first, to know what Islam is, to practice it, to gain sufficient knowledge to be able to choose correctly the suitable husband for herself, with the help of others. Next question. Question written in. Question also coming from Europe, from France. Brother writes, Assalamu alaikum, brother. I would like to ask you, when a Muslim stands to pray and he feels that he is standing in front of his Creator, and he feels so pious and strong, and suddenly he gets distracted from the prayer. He doesn't even know how many rak'ats he has done, or how many units of prayer he has done. But yet, he felt so strong in Iman, in faith, when he started. I know we should turn to the left and blow and seek refuge from Satan, but it still doesn't go away. What do you suggest? That the morning, what do you suggest that we do? Or I guess what do you suggest that the believer should do? I feel sometimes that if I close my eyes, I can make it go away. But I was told this is wrong. Well, in terms of closing the eyes, of course, it's not preferable. It's not impermissible. Islam does permit it, but it's not preferable. The sunnah is to pray with one's eyes open, to know what's happening around oneself, to be conscious of it. So if something harmful may come while you pray, you can deal with it. However, it should be looking at the point of prostration. I mean, one should not be praying, looking up and looking at everybody who comes in, left and right. Sometimes I'm instructed in the mosque, when you come in for prayer, and you see people just looking around. This is, of course, not from the Islam and not from the prayer. Prayer should be focused on the spot, the point of prostration, and control their sight during the prayer. Now, back to the original concept, the point that the person feels so pious, so strong at certain times, and then they shift off it and no longer feel strong, and they really want to get back to the way they felt before. Well, one just keeps on trying. It's a continual process. Nobody reaches a point where all prayers are just right on, all strong, etc. We all need to do more righteous deeds, more, purify ourselves more, to increase this kind of sense of awareness and iman. In fact, one of the companions, on one occasion, his name was Handala, what he did was, he went out in the streets and he was just sort of raising his voice saying, Handala, is a hypocrite walking in the streets. He came across Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr asked him, why are you saying this? And he explained to him, well, when I'm with the Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, I feel so pious, so righteous, so good, and I feel my worship is strong. But when I go home to my family, my children, my wives, they distract me, I lose that sense. I feel I'm some kind of hypocrite. And Abu Bakr said, I was thinking the same thing. Maybe I am also. Let us go to the Muslims of Allah and find out. So they went to the Prophet ﷺ and told him the situation. And his answer was, oh, alhamdulillah, I'm Abu Bakr. If you were able to maintain these heights of faith when you're with me as well as when you're not with me, then the angels would shake your hands in the streets. You would see them, they would appear before you and shake your hands in the street. So, he said, an hour of this and an hour of that. Sometimes you're pious and keen and such, and sometimes you're not impious, not that you go to the other extreme, but, you lose that. So it's a sometimes thing, and that's how our lives really end up. We end up striving for the righteous and the good, but, there are times when we slip, we just have to pick up the pieces and carry on. We have to know that this issue of strength of faith, of Iman, is not a continual thing, not something that we achieve when you say after this, okay, finished. No more worries. I've reached the point, I don't need to fear, anymore. I'm worshiping God, I love Him, and, I'm perfect now. None of it will ever achieve it. All of Adam's descendants make mistakes, constantly make mistakes. But the best of those who make these mistakes are those who turn back to God in repentance. So it's about repentance, repenting for the wrong that we've done, and trying to correct our behavior. If we find that, our faith is weakening, basically faith weakens by accordance with evil deeds. The more evil deeds we do, the weaker our faith becomes. So we need to go back and look at the things that we're doing, try to correct them up, purify ourselves, and then, of course, God is most merciful. He will help us with the process of increasing our faith. The next letter we have, a letter from Mauritania, in which our writer, Khalid Ahmed, writes, saying, Dear Dr. Bilal, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to ask about something which is very dear to me. And that is, when I'm doing something in society, that is drinking, leaving children behind, in adultery. And if I'm involved in these things, how does one deal with the situation as a Muslim? Well, if a person is committing some of these major sins like this, it doesn't mean that the person is no longer a Muslim. Although, yes, Prophet did say, a person who drinks alcohol is not a believer whilst he's drinking alcohol. At the state of drinking alcohol, we have to cancel out from our minds belief in God. We cannot think, yes, God is watching us, we're going to have to cancel it. We cannot do that and take alcohol at the same time. So we have to start kind of blind ourselves to God, God's commandments, to go and take alcohol. But when a person finds himself doing these things, it doesn't mean he should just give up worship. Worship is no longer any benefit. No. He should go back and continue to worship God and try to do it as sincerely as he or she possibly can. And they should take on their responsibilities in terms of raising children and avoid both drink and adultery. Those who are involved in these kind of illicit relations, they should break these relations, end them. Get themselves as far away from it as possible. And Allah is the best to help. Now, the next question is one concerning the graveyard. Is it true that calling on the deceased in the graveyard and screaming and crying loudly will lead to punishment of the deceased? Yes, there's a statement of the Prophet ﷺ that it will cause harm to the deceased, but this is where the deceased told people to do so, or he knew people were going to do something, didn't say anything. But a person who tells people, no, don't wail, etc., you know, and people go ahead and do it anyway, then they're not held to account for it. With that, dear viewers, I'd like to thank you for being with us in this segment of our program, In the Light of Islam, questions and answers to Islamic issues and queries. You may write in to us at PO Box 111 Sharjah, UAE, United Arab Emirates, and we will be honored to glad to receive your letters and try to answer them for you. And I'll bid you farewell. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.